Entering the Mayo Experience.
That Mayo Experience. That Mayo Experience. That Mayo Experience. Experience.
Welcome to another edition of the Dogger Pass Podcast. This for UFC 253. I'm Paul Shaughnessy. Got Matt Best behind the sticks and Cody Saftic here in studio. The man, the myth, the legend.
What's up?
Coming off of, I mean, yeah, you should just, you were talking about just before we went on. You have a new rule now.
No, I said I would
Fighters
like,
under 25, something like that.
I said I would like to go with a new rule going forward, but the degenerate side of me would never allow it. But yeah, we always talked about maybe stop betting these women MMA fights. Just so unpredictable. Yeah, stop betting these under 25-year-old prospects.
Yeah.
Because quite frankly, this was the discussion before we went on air, is that like, a guy like Derek Minner's got 40 pro fights. He knows what he's doing with his life. This is a guy that wakes up, goes to the gym. He might work a side job. Now that he's in the UFC collecting bonuses, maybe not. But this is a guy that goes out there and works a job, has a family, busts his ass, and he fights. TJ Laramie, there's no doubt he's a fighter. There's no doubt he wants to be a fighter. There's just so much to learn. He's 22 years old. Honestly, look at yourself in the mirror and be like, what were you doing at 22 years old? You were probably eating shawarma LaRouche. In Ottawa.
At what age?
22.
22? Yeah, so that was Marouche.
Shawarma Marouche, right? Getting the baby bazooka.
I don't even know if I could even afford
You
that.
couldn't even finish.
I was going to Giant Tiger and buying 99-cent pizzas. Like that was my jam at that.
You couldn't
point in my
even
life.
finish a shawarma, let alone an opponent in the UFC. It's just a tall task. And, you know, as much as we like these guys, oh, gee, he looks pretty good. O'Malley looks good. And Chase Hooper looks good. Quite frankly, I don't know why we thought that. But regardless, you think these guys look good. There's just so much to learn. So, lesson learned. Chimaev, he's battle-tested. He's ready to rock and roll. Colby Covington, he's battle-tested. He's rock and roll. That should have been the like. Didn't pay enough. I got greedy. Bottom line. Got greedy. Had those guys.
With the women's fights, I think maybe you just don't lay big chalk.
Yeah, and we'll talk about the women's spots on this card as well. It's the same thing. You know, you can have a lean, you can have somebody you think's gonna win, but like I just don't know that you go heavy on either side, right?
Yeah, 100%. Let's get into the action here. I mean, there's only one women's fight, and I agree with you with what you said there. I'm not so sure about, but in main event, we've got Israel Adesanya taking on Paulo Costa. Israel Adesanya, minus 170 favor. Paulo Costa can be had for plus 150. What are you thinking about this one?
You know what? I think the value side's on Paulo Costa, plus 150. I mean, as much as people don't like it, or maybe they're unhappy with it, and they don't like Costa, and they really like Adesanya. Adesanya's a next level talent. I just got to look at what I see on paper. What I see on paper is the persona, the character is bigger than the results themselves. This goes all the way back to, say, the Marvin Vettori fight, right? It's a split decision. It's a close enough fight. He beats Marvin Vettori. This is a guy on his rise. When Conor McGregor was on his rise, he's dusting out guys in the first round. He's a special talent. He's somebody that's getting the hype. And Adesanya, special talent, someone that's getting the hype. But the results don't really speak for themselves. The Anderson Silva fight, you go 3 rounds with that version of a shot at Anderson Silva, but there's respect on the table. Okay. The Kelvin Gastelum fight. Kelvin Gastelum's 5'9" on a good day. He's not a middleweight.
No.
He's certainly not the number 1 middleweight in the world. And he's about this close to becoming the number 1 middleweight in the world on the basis that this special striking, this crazy striking, who is standing with Conor McGregor, right? But no, guys can stand with Adesanya. They can take the damage. You see, he is a precision fighter, but he's not that like one hitter quitter, nailed that one shot. But prove me wrong, the Robert Whittaker fight right after Kelvin. He goes out there and now I want to bring it back to, there's a Robert Whittaker who doesn't really want to be the champion. His foot's definitely outside one. The motivation is not there. Maybe he's back now. Mm-hmm. But at that time, going through a lot of personal issues, going through some nasty health issues, going through some nasty injuries.
Tough time for him.
Very tough times for him. And you know what? He's actually competitive in that fight. The first round's competitive. He gets outstruck like 20-15. I think it's 20-17. It was a close first round. He loses the first round. Second round, it's competitive, and now all of a sudden he falls apart and he starts to tire for whatever reason, and Izzy catches him. And then you get the Yoel fight. Now, when you look at guys that fight Yoel Romero, it's always a war. It's always a drag him out, go for it. And it's not that Adesanya does absolutely nothing in that one fight. Is that now you start to think of body of work. And it's not just the one fight. There's other spots where it's the same thing. And we talked about Tyron Woodley last week. And that one reason I'm just not I don't think Tyron Woodley's done right. It's just he's done now. I think it's a body of work thing. You look to the Thompson fights. Geez, he arguably lost one of them. One of them he loses 3 of the 5 rounds because the 10-8 it's a draw. The Damian Maia fight, it's a shot 40-year-old Damian Maia who can't take him down. It's a horrendous fight. It's boring. Darren Till shouldn't have been in that spot. First round's absolutely atrocious. Now it becomes a body of work thing. So with Adesanya, as talented as he is, and as special as he is, you just got to show me a little bit more. It doesn't like he seems when guys bring it to him. He's a fancy striker. He likes to kick at range. He likes to be at range. He's better when he's counterpunching.
Yeah.
So maybe if Yoel would have done more, you would have seen a better Adesanya. He knew, hey, I can win these rounds by doing absolutely nothing. But you look back at those rounds, and there's certainly an argument that Yoel wins 3 of them because Adesanya does nothing. It's the biggest spot of his career, and he quite simply...
Well, in defense of him,
You can defend him. Go ahead, because...
he was...
I'm not saying anything...
I mean, Yoel, and he said it on the Countdown show. Yoel was out there to counter him, to catch him, make him a mistake. Yoel didn't show up to the fight like he did against Paulo Costa, like, let's bang, bro. He knew that he was going to lose a technical striking affair against Israel Adesanya, as most people, I think, know. And he was waiting for Adesanya to lead the dance. But that's the thing, is that Adesanya, he's kind of like his style is very similar to like Wonderboy Thompson. We've seen with Wonderboy Thompson. It's like if you force these technical counter strikers to have to chase, they don't know what to do half of the time. And that's basically what happened in that fight. He got clipped a couple times trying to close the pocket and get in there, and overhand right from Yoel Romero. That's why he kind of elected to go with the leg kicks and the more technical, like, let's win 3 of 5 rounds type of strategy. Paulo Costa isn't probably going to give him that option. Costa's just going to come forward. He's going to barrel forward. He's going to try to pound him. I'm with you, though. I think the value side of this fight is Costa. If you wanted to bet Israel Adesanya, you probably wait until after round 2. Costa, it was a high-paced fight with Romero, but I don't know if he's got 5-round cardio. That is my big concern here.
So I'd like to counter
if
that
you end
point.
up betting Costa, I worry that if you get to round 3 and he hasn't closed the show, I don't know, because we haven't seen it. I don't know what he can do in rounds 4 and 5. That is my only concern. I haven't made any bets on this card. Gun to my head, I would be playing Costa in this situation. I just think Izzy gets a hit a little bit too much. There's a massive power disparity in this matchup. And obviously Costa is a plus 150 underdog.
Well, that's the appealing part.
19-0 versus 13-0. These are the types of matches that fans like us.
That's why it's a pay-per-view.
What we're here for. It's like these are the 2 best young talents at 185 pounds, and we're gonna see what happens. But if I had to, Costa. DraftKings 7,700. Costa. But I think it's a great fight either way. Like, I'm not going to be shocked either way.
No. Here's the thing. I wouldn't be shocked either way. But when I think about this fight, I'm like, okay, it could go 2 ways. There's a lot of unknowns. These guys are top talents, the 2 best guys in the world at 185 pounds. So, yeah, there's a lot of variables. As far as I would price it closer to a minus 120 as your Adesanya. But because it's minus 170, now you're getting a high upside on Paulo Costa, then I'm definitely tempted towards it. Just talking about really quickly about him gassing, and you look at the Yoel Romero fight. One, it's just such a hectic
It
pace.
is. That first round is so fast.
I couldn't look at you in a square face and say that Israel Adesanya can handle that kind of pace. I just don't know. But it's not that Costa looks like he's tiring, but it's that even when he tires, he just keeps doing it. He just keeps coming. He just keeps throwing. Mm-hmm. The man is tired, but he's just unrelenting. Mm-hmm. Here's a guy that it literally has his target, like the Terminator. It's just set. You have to put him away in order to stop him from trying to come after you. And I don't know that as much as he is a talented counterpuncher, and he would rather be the counterpuncher. I think that there's an opportunity there. And then the last point is you mentioned, geez, you know what? He was waiting for Yoel to come attack him. And then when Yoel didn't attack him, he did absolutely nothing. But Kelvin attacked him. Whitaker attacked him. See, Whitaker wasn't durable enough to attack him for a prolonged period of time, which is why eventually he faltered. But certainly in the Kelvin Gastelum fight, Kelvin Gastelum comes at him for 4 rounds, wins 2 of those rounds. Now going into the 5th, that's where Adesanya shows that he is the champion. He absolutely trounces him 10-8 round as far as I'm concerned in the 5th round, and then claims victory. But against Paulo Costa, I don't know that you want to be going into 2-2 and hoping that he completely shits the bed in the 5th round, which Kelvin Gastelum also did, right? It's kind of a tale of 2 things. So listen, you just got to go with value side. Honestly, I would say that my pick straight up would be Paulo Costa. He's plus 150. That makes it even the more tempting.
It's dog or pass.
It's dog or pass, baby. I'm going to start this one off with an underdog. So I know the comment section won't like it. I know I'll take some heat on Twitter, but it's the same thing when you bet against anybody who's popular or Calvin Kattar, because shout out to his fans. They are more unrelenting than the McGregor fans are bad. The Aldo fans, really bad. Izzy's fans, they're They're passionate. If you cheer for Colby Covington, you also get a total fucking shit. But what I'm saying is, I'm expecting it, but I'm gonna back it up. I think Paulo Costa is the official play. That's what I'm sticking to.
I like it. All right, we got Dominic Reyes taking on Jan Blachowicz. Dominic Reyes minus 280 favorite. Jan Blachowicz plus 240, another spot where I think the value is on the underdog in the spot. I know Dominic Reyes, performance of his life up against John Jones.
Sure.
It went deep. Everyone, a lot of people scored it for Reyes, but you start to question: is this a depleted John Jones? Well, based on the
Everybody kind of looks
of,
good against John Jones.
I mean, OSP went 5 rounds against John Jones, and
Thiago Santos went 5. Anthony Smith went 5 rounds.
I just wish Jan was a better wrestler. Like, if I was convinced that he could get a takedown against Dominic Reyes, and watching the Dominic Reyes versus John Jones back and watching John Jones go in for those takedowns, get turned down pretty much immediately, especially early on in the fight. That is my big concern, because I think the one thing about Jan is he's incredibly durable. We've seen like the guy's got a cast iron chin. Reyes has looked his best when he is putting guys away early. He has slowed down in some of his fights. John Jones' fight, not really necessarily being one of the examples of that. Maybe he's completely cleared up that part of his game. But with the current prices right now, minus 280, plus 240, I think it's a lot closer than the line indicates. I think it should be closer to what they're offering on Israel Adesanya versus Paulo Costa. Like, I don't think there's a big advantage there. And Jan, every once in a while, he's always kind of known as being like this decision fighter. We win first 2 rounds and then just coast for round 3.
Sure.
But he's got some power in those hands as well. Jan is a dangerous man, and these are light heavyweights. This is I think Reyes is more technical, a little bit faster. Don't get me wrong, but Jan could definitely put him out. Jan would be the pick. I haven't made any bet on it. Both the main event and the co-main event. As of right now, I'm going to wait to see what the weigh-ins look like. I think during COVID right now, we kind of talked about it last week with like Tyron Woodley. It's just like, we don't know what these people have been, at the best of times, we don't know what people have been up to. But like during COVID, when like gyms are closed and yada, 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 you just don't know what version is somebody going to show up full Collier. I don't know.
Oh my
I don't know.
Well,
I don't expect anybody in the main event or co-main event to show up
looking like
that. But
I hear you.
What I'm saying is we just you kind of need that extra little bit of information in these matchups, especially when we're targeting underdogs as we are.
Yeah,
I don't think these lines are going to get too much. I think they're going to probably stick around where they are.
Yeah, I would expect so. Just I think that they're fairly sitting around what they're going to get at. Minus 280 Reyes, I don't like. Would I price it a little bit lower? Yeah, no doubt. But I got Dominic Reyes. Listen, I sat here, looked at you, and told you I thought Dominic Reyes was going to beat John Jones. I thought I was going to get the decision over him and use a plus 450. And again, people don't like John Jones as much, so you don't take a whole lot of shit for betting against him. But all the same, like, he goes out there and it's a performance of a lifetime. And if that's all it is, then yeah, he's definitely in trouble against Jan Blachowicz. But if that's an indication of where this guy is and where this guy's heading, which is what I believe, then I'm all for it. I mean, listen, he's a great athlete, but he's a guy that kind of got a late start into MMA, doesn't have a ton of experience on his record. You've seen him in the UFC look really good deep into fights, like the OSP fight. Almost takes out OSP with a second left on the clock. And then the very next fight against Volkan Oezdemir, he kind of tires a little bit. But this is a guy that's still figuring it out. He's still putting it all together. As far as his wrestling defense goes, oh yeah, does it need some work? For sure. But John Jones is taking you down. As far as his striking goes, man, he went out there and put on Jones. See, here's my main concern.
He stuffed John Jones early in that fight.
For sure. And he looked good for 2 rounds in that fight. And then beyond that, oh no, it starts to get away from him. And that's what makes John Jones so great. Is he the greatest striker? No. And is he the greatest wrestler? No.
But he may be one of the best fight managers.
His ring IQ is unbelievably high, which is crazy because his personal life, his out of ring IQ is absolutely
based on decisions that he makes.
But the decisions that he makes are perfect. And here's a guy that knows he's down 2 rounds and can make in-round adjustments, he can make between-round adjustments, he can make adjustments anytime he needs to. That's what he relies on. If it needs to make it a boring fight in order to secure the victory, and that's what he'll do. And that's what John Jones did. But Reyes has a big moment for him because in the Volkan Oezdemir fight, it's a close split decision, and he's tired in the 3rd round. Mm-hmm. The very next fight, he smokes out Chris Weidman in less than 2 minutes. Well, where's the cardio at? Now against John Jones, he starts to tire again after 2 rounds. Now he's getting tired. But he hadn't been 5 rounds. And with Jones, he fought through. Beyond that, I think it was a big learning experience. So now he's 30 years old. He takes that massive experience, I bet you it's a good confidence boost as well. Man, I just went to a very close decision with the pound for pound GOAT, and people are telling me they thought I won. Man, I'm pumped up. It's my time. Flip side to that, Jan Blachowicz. In what world did you ever think you'd live? And I know 2020 has been crazy, but this is equally as crazy as anything I've seen. Is 37-year-old Jan Blachowicz would be the UFC light heavyweight champion.
Well, John Jones vacated the belt.
It's not a real belt. This division is the most devoid of any talent of any division in the UFC right now. But it's like, what kind of world do we live in where he's got a crack at this thing? So you look at his record, right? Because he's been fighting on a tear. The guy's been looking good on a tear. You look at that 3-fight win, and that's where it becomes apparent. You have to have durability issues or be shot. And Jan will expose you because he's a good, solid gatekeeper. And that's what he's been his entire career. He's a good, solid gatekeeper. The top guys have beaten him. The low guys have not beaten him. Sometimes he looks good. Sometimes he looks bad. Now, why does he look so good recently? Well, he loses to Thiago Santos. He gets knocked out of there. So we'll talk about that. But Luke Rockhold can't take the punch. No, he can't. And Rockhold's moving up from 185 to 205, 20 pounds. Tries to take Jan down, can't. And then gets tired trying to take him down, and Jan knocks him out. Rockhold couldn't take the punch. Then he gets Jacare Souza, 40 years old, nearing 40 years old. Best days long behind him. Again, fighting from middleweight, where he's one of the best middleweights in a long time. At 205, he's over the hill, and Jan shows him what's up. Wins a split decision. And then Corey Anderson can't take a punch, man. And the UFC released him and allowed Bellator to sign him just recently. And, Jan touches the button on him. Jimmy Mann would touch the button on him. Guys touch
They released Corey Anderson?
Yeah, he fights for Bellator now.
I did not know that. I missed that.
Wow, I mean, he was a decision machine other than knocking out Johnny Walker. So I think they would just decide
and we go back to
move
2017 to lend to your theories here. I mean, he lost a majority decision against Pat Cummins.
Yeah, well, the wrestling just killed him. See, but now he's fighting middleweights at 205, he can stuff
talking
their
about
takedowns.
like dead chins that you should be able to, if you clip him once clean, he's usually done.
And now I think that's where we talk about the problem that Jan's going to have, is that he probably loses the first 3 rounds based on the massive speed advantage for Reyes. Reyes has got the kick game, he's got the range game, he stays on the outside and he kicks away at him. I think Reyes could take Jan down. I don't think he decides to, because Jan's sneaky good black belt. But Reyes just plays the same range game he did against Jones. The difference is Jan doesn't make the adjustments. And if Jan does make some adjustments and wins 4 and 5 or wins 2 of the last 3 rounds, then I think Reyes is the move. Now, if I was gonna bet against Dominic Reyes, right?
Reach, believe it or not, 78 inches for Blachowicz. 77 for Dom. So
Dom's
6'4". No, I know, but
he's giving up
an inch in reach, which is kind of interesting. I would have assumed that he had.
If I'm looking to fade Reyes, right, what I do is I let the first 2 rounds go, and I think Reyes wins the first 2 rounds based on the speed, but based on the striking. And then in rounds 3, 4, and 5, because Jan's hard to put away, and Reyes is not exactly again a murderous power puncher. If you let Jan hang around for too many rounds, maybe Jan does get on top and find the submission. Maybe Jan does hit you with that nasty little body kick he's got. Maybe Jan does club you standing, hurt you, discombobulate you a little bit, and make it sticky for you. But you're going to get a way better price trying to bet Jan Blachowicz after he loses the first 2 rounds. So anyways, I got Reyes. I'm favoring Reyes by decision to try to improve that price, but I had Colby by decision. I know you nailed that 22-1 on the 5th round stoppage.
I bet
and it was a cheeky stoppage.
I bet the
Don't
round
get me wrong.
4.
Cheeky stoppage.
I feel like
cheeky fucking stoppage, Paul.
I mean,
don't give me that shit.
He got injured, but he was gonna spend 4 minutes on top of Woodley after spending 3 minutes on top of Woodley. The end.
Everybody
he was
does
gonna
that to
get
Woodley.
that
he
finish.
Couldn't give me I hate this guy so much. I can't.
Other guys
just
didn't really
last 4
take
more
him
minutes.
down like that. I mean, Gilbert Burns didn't take him down like that.
No,
he doesn't have the wrestling to do it. But
4 more minutes.
Usually it's just like you back him up against the cage, wear him down. A lot of the things Colby did to Woodley is what the other guys did. But like Colby, because of probably all the time that they spent together on the mats, felt comfortable. Hey, if I can get him a little bit tired, I can grapple with him. I'm not in danger.
If you
at that
take
point.
Woodley in that position a minute into the 5th round with the rib injury, and you take him right there, boom, freeze, psh, everything freezes, and you went in and you removed his brain and switched it with Sarah Alpar's brain and resumed, went to fucking quit. Sarah Alpar got smoked out. And when the ref was
that
like,
ref
are
bet
you
the
okay? She's
over.
like, are you okay to continue? She's like, yeah, I'm good. Props to her, man. Massively outgunned there against Jessie Jess, but holy shit, all the respect in the world. That girl, 3 weeks out of her wedding, did not want to weigh out. And I'm not saying T would want to weigh out. Listen, guys, former world champion, who the fuck am I? Puss. But I'm saying is, Alpar wanted that $12,000 like you wouldn't believe. And Woodley was like, I don't, whatever. My rib hurts a little bit here. He's going to kick my ass for another 4 minutes. I don't want him having the satisfaction of punching me in the face another 30 times while I curl up. I'm just going to tap out now. Fuck you. Not even that hurt. Did nothing to my face. Okay, whatever. Take that way. But Sarah Alpar would not have. So, anyways, I got Dominic Reyes here. Again, I think I'll just take it straight up if it is on a parlay. 280 is not a price tag that I particularly like. I get your point on maybe chasing a little bit of value there. But I think if I am going to chase a value, it'll be a live
on the main
it'll be a live bet on Jan after 2 rounds. And hopefully he makes that sneaky comeback like he's kind of been doing.
Kai Kara France takes on Brandon Royval. Kai Kara France minus 240 favorite. Royval plus 200. What's your take here?
Okay, so Royval's fun, and I think that he's going to be in this fight. He's going to be competitive in this fight. I just think there's still a ways to go for him. I mean, he was only just a few fights back fighting on the regional scene, young, developing, raw. He's got a good style. He's very opportunistic with his submission game, loves to attack with arm bars. Guy's scrambly. As far as his striking goes, that's kind of supposed to be his bread and butter. I think he's a good striker. Factory X Muay Thai guy, good cardio, 28 years old, wily. And then you see him coming in and winning his UFC debut against Tim Elliott. And listen, that's a fight that is just going every which way but loose, man. Like, Elliott's taking him down and Royval's scrambling.
That's what Elliott does.
Oh yeah, it's just a crazy fight. But to see him come with that arm triangle choke in the second round, when Elliott fought a very, very bad game plan and just completely exhausted himself. And this was Elliott still in Vegas, right before going back to Kansas, where he still fights like a madman, but at least manages it a little bit better. And Royval takes advantage. It's seeing him in the post-fight being like, oh my God, I can finally quit my job. Please give me a bonus. The 50,000 bonus would be life-changing. It's like, man, this guy's going to be good now that he can take it full time. But Kai Kara France is just that one level above a little bit too much. You don't go from fighting Royval's one fight into the UFC. Fighting Tim Elliott was crazy. Yeah. Elliott was a former title challenger. Had like 17 fights. Fighting him was crazy, but Elliott just fought a crazy game plan, a bad game plan, and ultimately he's the kind of guy that a young prospect could expose. Coming against Kai Kara France, here's the issue with France, is that he looks very exposable in all of his fights. You look at a lot of these fights, and it's like, oh my God, he's kind of getting outstruck. His takedowns, not quite as good as I thought. His volume, geez, not quite as good. But ultimately, he does find ways to win. They're close decisions. But I think he's going to be faster than Royval. He's going to be sharper than Royval. I don't think Royval is going to be able to take him down. I think Kai Kara France, if he takes Royval down, he's going to be able to stay out of the submissions, but more so use the takedowns as a way to just secure the rounds. Just beat this guy standing, work his body. Royval's there all day for the body shots. Kai Kara France likes to change levels and kind of, work up top, work down below. I just think that he's a little bit sharper, he's a little bit faster, he's a little bit cleaner. This goes down to another price tag situation. At minus 240, I don't like a guy where every time I bet Kai Kara France, and every time I do bet Kai Kara France, it's not a good price tag, man. You're always getting this guy, the Roland Paiva fight. He's a big favorite, but he doesn't look all that good.
Minus 245 against Paiva, minus 320 against Mark De La Rosa, minus 130 in a fight that he lost against Brandon Moreno.
Which I had him there, too.
Minus 350 against Tyson Nam. Yeah, he gets the city kickboxing pricing.
Elias Garcia, Rufus sport trained, and he's actually cousins with the Pettis brothers. And whoa, he fanned out of the UFC quick. Should not have been there. Wasn't ready for it. Mark De La Rosa, abysmal record in the UFC. Husband of Montana De La Rosa, who seems like she's on a bit of a rough stretch as well. Actually, she's winning fights, just not the highest level of fights. But Mark's out of the UFC. I mean, not exactly a good, solid win. Those are all decisions. So as much as he does crack a little bit, and he's a sharp technical striker, he's certainly lacking stopping ability. The Brandon Moreno fight, Moreno can wrestle, Moreno can scramble, Moreno can strike as well. And now you're not greasing out a split decision like he did. Rolian Paiva is a top talent. He is a good fighter. He's one of those guys that didn't fan out like Garcia or De La Rosa. But you can make a strong argument that he lost that Paiva fight. And Paiva's making his UFC debut as an unknown, as a big underdog. He maybe there to be exposed. You don't feel good betting him as a big favorite. Then he loses to Moreno. Now you go to the Tyson Nam fight.
Yeah, a lot of his fights go to split decision, or they're really close, dicey decisions.
And the Nam fight's a unanimous decision, but by all accounts, man, like rewatch it. It's he wins. I think he wins, but it's close, man. And he wins because even though he doesn't throw a whole lot, Tyson Nam doesn't knock you out, doesn't throw enough. And in this case, he just doesn't throw enough. Kai Kara France gets the victory. So again, I got Kai Kara France. I see him winning a decision. The pattern here is he's defeated lesser talents than Brendan Royval by decision. So you try to improve that 240 certainly. But I'm certainly tempted at that plus 200 on Royval. I mean, he's going to give him a fight. If you consider Kai Kara-France is going to decision, which his 5 fights in the UFC, all decision. This fight's going to decision, okay?
Yeah.
When you consider all of those decisions he's had in the UFC have been, not all of them, I should say. The Garcia fight and the De La Rosa fight aren't particularly competitive. But anyways, 3 of those 5 fights, very competitive. Then you would line this fight price-wise closer to a pick'em. It's going to decision. It'll probably be a close decision. Brandon Royval knows how to scrap. He's a scrappy fighter. He's going to give him a close fight. Why wouldn't you just say dog or pass? But Kai Kara-France wins these spots. And he's on a card here where Israel Adesanya is headlining and Brad Riddell is first fight on the main card, first fight on the prelims, last fight on the prelims. Doesn't matter. It's like City Kickboxing's here to show out. These guys are all going to be motivated. Kai Kara-France is the superior fighter. It's just I think he's going to fight maybe a bad game plan. I don't know what's getting me. What's getting me is that he hasn't been living up to his potential.
The thing is,
the guy's got 8 losses on his record. I know they're a while ago, but you could defeat him. He's beatable, certainly.
The guy's nickname is Don't Blink. He was a finisher on the regional scene. He was a guy who would finish guys in the first round, a flyweight that finishes people in the first round. Not exactly a long-term solution. You got to be able to fight 3 rounds in this division. I'm not saying that he's not exactly like a gasser, but he doesn't seem to. He can't. I don't know if this guy could go 5 rounds. 3 rounds is completely in his wheelhouse. I don't know. It's for me. It's dog or pass. I have plus 200. Factory Muay Thai. The cardio always checks out with guys from that gym. It's dog or pass for me, but I haven't made a wager on these guys either. It's we'll see how it plays out in the cage. Definitely interested on the live markets this week, especially at the top of the card. Let's move on down. We've got Cody's favorite division, the women's bantamweight division. Ketlin Vieira takes on Sijara Eubanks. Vieira, minus 170 favorite. Eubanks, plus 150. Used to love when I could use Sijara Eubanks' gas tank as a argument for making wagers. But you know what? She's worked on that game. And cutting down to 125 was clearly an issue for her. Last time out, she did everything that she needed to. She didn't really tire out that much. Julia Avila, a high-end prospect with, everyone thought that she had like not the jiu-jitsu advantage, but you were talking about it, Notre Dame, or it was a Notre Dame track team,
had the strike advantage,
good endurance, everything like that. And Eubanks just took her down and just controlled her and didn't really tire. So she may be coming to her own. She's a 6-4 fighter at this point in her career, but she's only fought like elite level fighters. Ketlin Vieira definitely is on a whole different level in terms of size, though. I think for her, Ketlin Vieira comes in at
5'8".
Yeah, 5'8", 68-inch reach. Sijara Eubanks is what, 5'4"? 5'4", 67. So not much of a reach advantage. Ketlin Vieira worries me in terms of the cardio as well, as we've.
Oh yeah,
I've seen her really slow down over time. She can win those first 2 rounds, but and obviously getting left hook knocked out by Irene Aldana. I'll just kind of throw that one out. That was. I don't know. This fight worries me. I'm not getting in line to fade Eubanks anymore. I really do think she's making improvements. Yeah,
I think that you could definitely have a look at Eubanks as an underdog pick at plus 150 because I was so against her last time out against Julia Avila. I would just feel wrong now betting a bet on Eubanks. I don't have her winning this fight personally. I'm thinking that is definitely the underdog side, plus 150. It is the value side. Not only has she been making those improvements, but she just fought recently against Julia Avila where she relatively didn't take a whole lot of damage. The first round, she took some serious shots. But beyond that, it was just like take her down, relative ease, ride her out, not offering up anything off her back, break this girl's will, cardio checked out, good fight. Coming back in kind of like a full camp situation. Ketlin Vieira, meanwhile, has been off for a full year. Now, Ketlin Vieira did have a fight booked in August, but funny enough, her fight against Yana Kunitskaya, she withdraws. That's August 8th. So this is like 6-7 weeks later. I don't know what the injury was. I don't know what prohibits her from fighting that time ago. But anyways, the main thing is that she's been off a year. Now that helps her out because Aldana knocked her out. But boy, oh boy, did Aldana ever knock her out. And that fight, that's a competitive fight, man. They're out there striking. The numbers are pretty similar. I think Aldana's certainly the crisper striker. She's landing probably the better shots. But I mean, my God, Ketlin Vieira's down. She's down to strike. She's whipping that right hand. She's trying to stay aggressive and stay in her face, but it's like a check left hook, just like just drops her. And then like one follow-up shot and she's all the way out. So I don't know if chin's an issue, but with Eubanks, I don't think Eubanks is all that great of a striker, but she just throws caution to the wind with the right hand. So yeah, I'm a little bit worried that one, you got a girl coming off a 1 year long layoff versus Eubanks who just fought 2 weeks ago, right? So that's going to help Eubanks. The last time out, she just absolutely got blasted by that right hand. With Eubanks, it's like a decent enough striker to potentially land a big blow standing. Well, Ketlin Vieira is a BJJ black belt. Well, Eubanks is a better BJJ black belt. While Eubanks gasses out in the third round, well, Ketlin Vieira gasses out in the third round. So you know what? They line up pretty similar, to be honest. And in that regard, I think that Eubanks is that play. It's looking at Ketlin Vieira in those fights, right? The Kelly Fashholtz fight. Wow. She wins the first 2 rounds and then gasses and loses the third round to Kelly Fashholtz. Unbelievable. The Ashley Evans Smith fight. She wins the first 2 rounds. Woo-hoo, gasses out in the third round and loses the third round to Ashley Evans Smith, which is winning those decisions because she's up 2 rounds. The Sarah McMahon fight, she loses the first round. But you know what? The Sarah McMahon fight, she stuffs some takedowns. Sarah McMahon's deep on a couple single leg takedowns. And it turns out not only is Ketlin Vieira a BJJ black belt, she's also a judo black belt. Got good hips on her. The Sarah McMahon fight, once Sarah McMahon wins that first round, it's kind of close, but she does win the first round. In the second round, she's able to take McMahon down with a judo toss, gets on top of McMahon, submits her. That's a feather in the cap. The Kat Zingano fight, she's outstriking Kat Zingano. She takes her down, but I mean, she has her moments. It ends up being a split decision because consensus is she won the first 2 rounds, gassed out and loses the third. But even in the third, she's not all the way gassed. And then the Aldana fight, she's given a good account of herself until she gets knocked out. So honestly, I don't think she's all that bad. She's a Nova União fighter, whereas you and I have made a lot of discussion about men Nova União fighters over the past. I think that on the female side, they're very aggressive. They have good grappling. They're strong jiu-jitsu. They're strong, powerful fighters, but they gas out a little bit. If she can go and win the first 2 rounds with Eubanks, use that judo to keep the fight standing. If you do get taken down, use that black belt to try to get back up or at least present her some problems that Julia Avila wasn't able to. But as far as the striking goes, yeah, she could get caught by the Eubanks right hand, but I think she'll just have a little bit more output. She loves the knee to the body. She loves punching away. You bring up a great point, the 4-inch height advantage. I honestly thought Eubanks' biggest problem against Avila would be moving up to 135. Avila, once she was on her back, just had no answers. But now we got a legitimate BJJ black belt in Ketlin Vieira who should be able to solve that. She's already fought big 135ers like Kat Zingano. Kat Zingano's a huge 135er. It fights for Bellator now at 145. She's dealt with size before. And honestly, now she's got Julia Avila's 5'7", right? So she's the 1 inch, whatever, no big deal. But I mean, I think she is a legitimate 135-pound fighter. Keep this fight standing, work her with the knees, close fight, sloppy fight, maybe a split decision, maybe a close decision. But one, I think she wins. And so I got her at -170, and I'm going to double down by taking her by decision because I don't think she submits Eubanks, and I don't think she's got the pop in those strikes to take TKO her. But, I could definitely see a situation where, again, I'm looking like a fool for going after, for betting against Eubanks, who, outside of the Betchko Hea fight, take that fight out of there, there's a lot to like about this girl. She shows a lot in all those fights. One bad performance shouldn't be the whole story on you. And maybe that's the same thing with Ketlin Vieira. The one knockout. Outside of that, yeah, I've been liking enough of what I see. Top talent, no. World champion, no. World champion contender, like maybe she fights for help, no.
Good enough to beat
a 35-year-old Sinhara Eubanks who's maybe not a 35. I don't know. Maybe she'll prove me wrong again. She probably will. But my pick is going to be Ketlin Vieira by decision.
Fair. All right, we got Zubair Tukhugov taking on Hakeem Dawodu. Tukhugov is a -120 favorite. Dawodu +100. Who you got here? Okay,
so this is another situation where you look at the tape on it, and there's a lot to like about Hakeem Dawodu. I mean, he's another. It's not really a big underdog play. He's +100. He's even money, but he certainly seems to be the more refined striker. He throws a little bit more than Tukhugov. As far as his takedown defense goes, it checks out. If you do get him down, he's usually pretty good at getting back to his feet. And with Tukhugov, I mean, there is the idea that maybe his cardio isn't all that good. When you look at his record, right, he wins a split decision over Felipe Nova, right? In that fight, it's very low punch statistics. He lands something like 1 takedown on Nova and 20 significant strikes. Very, very low. The Renato Moicano fight, he loses a split decision. Second straight fight, split decision.
Moicano's a stud, though.
Moicano's a total stud. And Tukhugov takes him down 3 times. But He lands almost no significant strikes in that fight. He outstruck again, and he loses a split decision. Then he gets popped by USADA and takes a 2-year ban, I believe, prior to the Thiago Traitor fight. Then he hops over a cage, sucker punches Conor McGregor in the side of the head, which scraps his planned fight with Artem Lobov, and he gets like a 1-year UFC ban. He actually got cut from the UFC, but Khabib was like, that's not happening. And it didn't happen. By the time he fought Lerone Murphy, he hadn't fought in 3 years. And holy shit, did this guy look good in the first round. And then he tired. Now, Tukhugov wasn't really one to throw a whole lot of output to begin with. So not only has he been off for 3 years, not only has he not had to fight somebody into later rounds in a long time, but I mean, he kind of fought uncharacteristically in that first round. Tires out. Lerone Murphy wins 2 and 3, but it's a 10-8 first round. So that's why it's ruled a draw. Now he gets the Kevin Aguilar fight. And no offense to Aguilar, because I do like him. He's fun. It's fun to see him on cards, but like, he just can't take the pow, right? And as literally, it's a competitive first 3 minutes. Doesn't look like anybody's all that much better than the next. But then as soon as he lands on him, he puts him down. No doubt Tukhugov has been working on his striking and his wrestling. No doubt that he's been making a lot of improvements. That time that he's had off between 26 to 29, improvements haven't been made. But because he knocked out Aguilar so quick in the first round, it's 3 minutes. I don't know how he's going to look in the second and the third round beyond that. Dawodu's going to give him problems. Now, he could go to the wrestling and take down Hakeem Dawodu. Sure, we've seen Julio Arce take down Dawodu once. Dawodu pops back up.
Kyle Bochniak took him down twice.
But he pops back up. When he was fighting for World Series of Fighting, he fought a couple tough Russian guys, and they took him down, but he gets back up. His takedown defense isn't all that bad. Tuhugav's going to mix in that wrestling, and I think Dawodu's going to be the better striker. The striking is comparable in that Tuhugov's going to be throwing punches. He's not going to get knocked out. He might be able to land that winging left hook. He might be able to hurt Hakeem. But I think Hakeem does ultimately win the striking exchanges. But Tukhugov mixes in a couple takedowns here and there, makes it a dicey situation. Now we've got a close fight. And that brings me to my final point. See, the year that he took off from the UFC for punching Conor McGregor in the side of the head, not a bad thing in this particular moment. See, because he goes out there and he says, Conor McGregor disrespected Islam. I had to make it right. You say things like that, it really jives in the Middle East, baby. And they love him. I honestly think Hakeem Dawodu is going to have to knock him out or kill him in order to get the win. I think it'll be a close fight. And I think Hakeem Dawodu probably should have won that close fight. If it's in Vegas, probably, actually, Ali Abdulaziz might have some Vegas ties. If it's in a lot of jurisdictions, I think Hakeem Dawodu wins the decision. I don't think he wins the decision in Abu Dhabi. And I know that's probably not the most technical of breakdowns. I gave you the technical side. I think it's going to be a close fight. I think that Dawodu's going to get taken down probably 2 or 3 times, and he's going to get back up. He's going to make him work. The striking will be close. I think Hakeem, on the viewer's aspect, will land the better shots. But ultimately Tuhugov's taking that decision. Or if he doesn't take a decision, which is what I think is going to happen, it goes to Hakeem Dawodu's UFC debut against Danny Henry. Yeah, it's just a shot you don't see coming, right? He gets caught by that shot, he goes down. He gets caught in a guillotine. I can see Tukhugov doing that as well. But Tukhugov not really a power puncher himself. Been working a lot on his striking.
He's coming off a knockout win.
Yeah. And then because of this whole virus situation, right? Dawodu had originally left his Champions Creed. It's in Alberta, small little gyms. Yeah. You know, and Canada's a small country.
I was creeping the Instagrams on this
for sure. And then he had left there and he had gone to SPG Ireland and put some work in a few other camps. Anyways, pandemic hits. This guy's done the whole camp in Alberta. Whereas Tukhugov, pandemic hits. He was going to AK in San Jose. Nah, I guess I'll just hang out in this room with all these Russians. Like, oh no, these guys look. He's wrestling hard.
You know
he's wrestling
who's
hard.
In that room? I was talking about being in. You know who's in that room of Russians?
Yeah,
Islam Makhachev, who's getting ready for Rafael dos Anjos.
And is not only just in that room, but they're like look like they're best friends. They're like out to dinner every night. They might be roommates. I think he's gonna be in good shape. And the main thing is they're gonna get the nod. If it goes to decision, they're gonna get the nod.
The only wager I've played already is Zubaira Tukhugov minus 110 about 2 days ago.
Good play.
I
think Hakeem is the better fighter.
I just think hanging out in that room with Islam getting ready for this fight. I mean, we saw 6 takedowns against Lerone Murphy. I think when this guy first showed up,
Lerone Murphy's good, by the way, dude. That's not just Lerone Murphy. Guy's fucking legit.
No, I know.
It has weird takedown defense.
Absolutely,
it's legit.
What I'm saying is that. When Zuby showed up on the scene, he's only 29. The guy's been fighting in the UFC since like 2013. Like, he's been around a long time, lots of suspensions. I mean, he's got curious political
We're not here to
ties
talk
and
about
so
that. We're here to
not
talk
here
about
to talk
making some
about any of that.
money.
The fact that he's in the room with Islam Makhachev getting ready for Islam Makhachev's biggest fight of his career. If you want to talk about Izzy and Kai Kara France and Brad Riddell and the City Kickboxing, this is a City Kickboxing card. This was probably supposed to take place in either Australia or New Zealand.
I would imagine so.
And yeah, Zuby's getting ready in the same place. I think his grappling, when he first showed up, Chechen guy, but like he was more of a striker.
It was.
I think
definitely.
that wrestling is starting to catch up, and I think that's where he's going to take advantage of this fight. Hopefully he has the cardio to hold on in round 3, but I feel like Hakeem, if we're able to get takedowns early and often in this fight, I think Zuby is the play. I would play him probably up to -150.
Yeah, fair enough. Fair enough.
So yeah, that's how I am playing this fight. Let's move. And in fairness to Dawodu, he's been over there at Fight Island. Usually I'd be like, "Wow, we're gonna bet the Russians because these other people are flying in." Dawodu was already there like last week's card. I saw like a picture on his Instagram. So like he's been over there a while. I'm sure he's acclimatized to the timing of all of this because this is gonna take place at like insane hours, I believe, in the morning for these fighters. Anyway, let's move on. We got Brad Riddell taking on Alex De Silva. Brad Riddell -255 favorite. Alex De Silva can be had for +215. Your takes?
Yeah, okay. So again, I think you see City Kickboxing card, you see Izzy at the top, and then naturally these guys are getting steamed up, and that's just another case here. Kai Kara France, that's not the price you'd want to pay, 240, and Brad Riddell, 255.
He was
again.
-320 when I made this board 2 days ago.
Yeah, because they all opened up big favorites, and there's a lot of love, no doubt, but I think then you think value side. That's what you get onto, value side. Well, if this is going to be a close fight, then why would I win one side of this? I got Brad Riddell here. I think Brad Riddell wins the fight. I think Brad Riddell wins the decision. But 255 is just like a nifty price tag because now I got to add him to parlays, and then again, it could be a close fight. His takedown defense is going to be the one thing that costs him because listen, his striking is sick. He's a coach over at City Kickboxing. So, I mean, like, not only is he just a badass fighter and a striker and got good experience under his belt already in terms of Muay Thai. I mean, he competed like 50, 60 times in Muay Thai. Now he's over in MMA, 9 fights, but growing, trained at some of the best gyms in the world. There's a lot to like against Brad Riddell, but, you know, as being a lifelong striker, the grappling's got to catch up. And honestly, you know what? The issue with his grappling is that, or his takedown defense, is that he is, by fight metric standards, getting taken down, but he's up, you know? I always think that the rule, they should judge it, you got to hold the guy down for 5 seconds. You complete a sick takedown, and then he just gets up. It wasn't a fucking takedown, man. You know, it was a change of positions real quick. If you take the guy down, you hold him down for at least 5 seconds, which isn't even a whole lot of long time, and then I don't think it's a takedown. Against Magomed Mustafayev, listen, this guy's very strong. He's a combat Sambo world champion, and he completes 8 takedowns on Riddell. But Riddell just gets slammed to his knees. He works his way back up. And when he's separated, he goes out there and he pieces them up. Now, listen, it is a close fight. It's a close fight. It's a close decision. But Riddell's the rightful winner in that fight. It's a close fight. It's a learning experience, certainly. But I like what I saw out of him. Now, he has battled with some injuries. He's not exactly a young prospect for a guy that's only got 9 pro fights, but I like what I see out of him. He's a superior striker, and he's really spending a lot of time working on the kickboxing. See, the same thing with Israel Adesanya and Kai Kara France and Dan Hooker and another example, obviously, here in Brad Riddell. These guys are all good strikers. What happens when you're a good striker? You got to work on your wrestling. You got to work on that. And that's where I think the big changes is. Now, Alex De Silva fancies himself a wrestler. And so far in his 2 fights in the UFC, he gave Alexander Yakovlev a run in the first round using his takedowns, right? In the second round, I don't know if he was tired. I think it's a short notice fight, but yeah, he sticks his head into a guillotine choke. He taps pretty quick, but maybe he was tired. Who knows? His second fight, he gets Cazulo Vargas, a Mexican boxer. And he just takes him down. Vargas can't get up. He holds him down. Okay, this guy doesn't want to strike. He landed 20 significant strikes against Vargas and mostly just had him down the whole time. Against Yakovlev, not a whole lot of significant strikes. He does not want to strike. He wants to cling to you. And Brad Riddell just fought a far better guy at doing that, Magomed Mustafayev, who's way stronger than De Silva.
Fair.
He's a better takedown artist than De Silva. Arguably has a better gas tank than De Silva. And is actually a better striker than De Silva, so he can strike a little bit too if he wants. You know, nasty spinning back kick, big power in his hands. But Brad Riddell just cruises on through. So Riddell's just got 2 fights in the UFC. You're going to start seeing him getting better, more comfortable, and I think this is just the progression. Alex De Silva reminds me a lot of Alan Patrick, right? Kind of a one-dimensional Brazilian guy, very strong, athletic, powers you to the ground, tries to hold you down. Not a whole lot of ground and pound, not a whole lot of submission attempts. But once that doesn't work, you know, the Bobby Greens of the world and the Scott Holtzmans of the world start stuffing those takedowns and causing you to strike, and taking you to the round 2 and taking you into round 3 and start landing, start piecing you up, start tiring you out. bloody you up a little bit, that's when I just don't think there's a plan B.
Well, if your plan is to wrestle, having to get your inches or you're getting below Brad Riddell's 5'7", and Alex de Silva's 5'10", having to get that extra little bit lower is going to be pretty difficult.
Yeah, and again, I mean, you
know, shorter guys usually is where the advantage is in wrestling.
Sure, but I mean, this guy's got Dan Hooker as a chief sparring partner who just like fits your size perfectly. You know, I train with some rangy guys, all good kickboxers. If this was just a kickboxing match, he's got it all day. It's that mixing in the wrestling. But we see Mustafayev do that, and we see Riddell come through. And Riddell will grow in confidence. He will give a better version of himself. I got Riddell. Riddell's last 3 fights have all been decision. He hurt Malarkey a couple times, couldn't put him away. The Magomed Mustafayev fight, he didn't he drops Mustafayev technically, but he doesn't put him away. And then his fight right before getting to the UFC, he fought a 5-8 opponent, Mickey Vatuana. You watch that fight as well, pieces him up, but fight goes to decision. Again, I'm the kind of guy that chase when I got such a bad price tag ahead of me, right? I got to chase a little bit. So 255, not a great price tag. I got him winning. He's parlay material.
I don't hate it.
It's parlay material. But I'm the kind of guy that would chase that Alex de Silva is not there to get knocked out and last to 15, and that Brad Riddell by decision.
I like where your head's at on that one. Let's move on. We've got Jake Matthews taking on Diego Sanchez. Jake Matthews, the biggest favorite on the card at minus 750. Diego Sanchez can be had for plus 525.
Diego in the third.
That's my greasy thought this week.
Diego third round.
I mean, I don't like it like I like Colby Covington round 4, round 5, which is what I said last week. But Jake Matthews, history of gassing. Like minus 750, you got to decide, is he going to finish Diego Sanchez? It's very, very much in the wheelhouse. But Diego Sanchez has always been very, very durable.
Yeah, man, pretty durable.
Obviously, Diego's giving up a lot of size. He's slow. He's broken down.
He gives up size at 170. Facts are facts.
100%. But Jake Matthews has a history of
not a big welterweight.
Taking that apple pie and just diarrhia all over the pie. Like there's
750 looks like that kind of price tag.
100%. My only Pat stole the moment there at the end. I was gonna let him break it down and then kind of say the only thing I had interest in is 33-1 right now. Diego Sanchez round 3. I really honestly feel like the only way Diego Sanchez wins this fight is Jake Matthews gasses. And I don't know whether Jake Matthews is going to finish Diego Sanchez. I think Jake Matthews has all the physical advantages, besides gas tank, of course. All of the other advantages in terms of size, strength, striking ability, speed, literally just about everything. The only thing I can even consider is the smallest of small punch. Take some of the Colby Covington round 5 money, just a little bit of it, and sprinkle on Diego round 3. Because even 525 is like, how can you watch what Diego Sanchez has done over the last couple of years and in good faith put any sort of money on this guy?
Yeah, no,
like he is cooked. He's got the worst coach in MMA. I mean, I lost against Jake Ellenberger in a grappling bout. Oh, God. But obviously, Pereira's illegal knee win last time out.
He's coming off a win, man. He's coming off a win.
Oh, my God. Michael Chiesa before that. I mean, he went to decision, but got absolutely thrashed.
I hear you.
I think the only play, if you want to do anything, is wait for... Or you watch this one live and see if there's a spot where Jake Matthews gets really, really tired. That's the only thing I can even work out of this fight is Diego Sanchez round 3 seems probably pretty overpriced because I think that's when he wins this fight. He's going to get dominated from the get-go for sure, though.
From the get-go until Jake Matthews potentially gasses. Yeah, no, I hear you 100%. Listen, Diego Sanchez is the 8th wonder of the world. You look at the season 1 cast from The Ultimate Fighter. Like, these guys haven't been relevant in years. Forrest Griffin, Stephan Bonner, Josh Koscheck, Chris Lieben, Bobby Southworth, Kenny Florian. What happened to all these guys, Paul? These guys have all been respectively retired for years. These guys have been fighting at an elite level. Diego just keeps going. Shockingly, only 38 years old. But I mean, enough's enough. And at some point, another, the skill just didn't keep. It wasn't like he just didn't make the improvements. It's that like his body's just taking an absolute thrashing. And you watch back on season 1 of The Ultimate Fighter, and the talk on the old forums back in 2005 being, man, this guy's punch drunk. Man, this guy's got CT. Man, this guy's taking too many punches. Man, this guy's weird. But that was just Diego.
Yeah, it's just
and
Diego being
then
Diego.
The best version of him, 2009, and he puts on a Fight of the Year with Clay Guida, and the guy's still weird. And then he has his phase where he leaves Jackson's and he pursues God, and he ends up just training jiu-jitsu full time and doing some surfing, and then he leaves that and he goes back. He's been a bit of a wanderer. Now he's with this Josh Pava was the name. It's just like it's another step in this whack-ass journey from Diego Sanchez. But if the skills followed him for said journey, then great. But Diego was always the same guy. He's a rough and tumble grinder. He's got decent wrestling. Listen, I can't even say he has decent wrestling. He has rugged wrestling. Against guys that wrestle collegiately, against guys that are former D1 All-Americans, against guys that set up the shots, those are good wrestlers. But Diego grinds on you. And if he does take you down, he's relentless. But that's his biggest claim to fame, Paul. Guy's just relentless. Guy just keeps coming at you. But again, I mean, there's got to be skill behind that, or your body just takes a thrashing. And now you see him at 170. He's not a welterweight anymore. By the way, he was on The Ultimate Fighter at 185 pounds. Won The Ultimate Fighter over Kenny Florian, who eventually made featherweight. 185, way too small, obviously. 170, couldn't keep up with the times. Goes to 155, realizes, I still can't cut it at 55. Tries 145. Remember he fought Ricardo Lamas?
Mm-hmm.
No, definitely can't make 145. Goes back to 155. Didn't find the answers. Now he's back at 170. He's just out. And now his best characteristic was that he's rough and tumble, that he take you down, that he might grind you a little bit, that he's durable. We have seen him get knocked out, but that durability's still there. So what has he got left? This broken little robot of Diego Sanchez. What do we still got left? He's got heart. Okay, we definitely got to know that. The cardio, yeah, not terrible. He'll certainly push as hard as he can through those 3 rounds. But the motherfucker could not get submitted. His takedown defense is legit. And that's the key thing in this fight here, right? Jake Matthews probably does go out and beat him. He's young, he's spry, he's faster. Jake Matthews can't bust a grape. He's got one single TKO victory in the UFC. It was over Akbar Thariola. Mm-hmm. You remember that fight because he had to come off the canvas from a nasty head kick. And Akbar Thariola's corner actually threw in the towel after the 2nd round. Prior to that, he hadn't knocked out a guy since 2012. One knockout victory in the last 8 years. Now I know Diego's shot. I know Diego, finally somebody did crack the chin. So finally, Joe Lozon puts him down. Finally, Ally Quinter rearranges him. I get that. I fully get that. Jake Matthews isn't those guys. Jake Matthews is not this murderous power puncher. Nope. And Jake Matthews fancies himself a grappler. He wants to take Diego down. He wants to grab. He's not submitting Diego Sanchez.
And
I'll
by
tell you that
grappling,
right
he tires himself out
He's
even
minus
further.
105 to win by decision, and the fight's minus 155 to go to decision. I think that's how you improve 750. I think that's how you improve on it all day. I think he wins the first 2 rounds, like you said. Maybe Diego's live in the 3rd round, but Diego would have to TKO him. I just don't really fully see it. Like maybe Diego submits Jake Matthews, but the last 2 fights, you see a very helpless and lost individual.
At 33 to 1, we're saying that if these guys fought 100 times, does Diego finish him in round 3?
Sure. No.
3
listen,
times.
it could most definitely happen because it's the fight game.
Think.
It's the fight game. And with Rocco Martin, it looked like Matthews was going to be able to escape with a decision, but hey, in the 3rd round, he's tired. He's in a bad position. He gets submitted. I could definitely see it. You 33 to 1. Yeah, you take that.
I just hit it.
Yeah, okay. I'm saying is Matthews again decision. In his last 2 wins,
that's the more likely outcome for sure.
His last 2 wins in the UFC, Rostom Akhman can't wrestle, shouldn't have been there, like just not very weird spot, and he still decisioned him. By the way, just out grappled him, didn't look good, but decisioned him. Emil Weber Meek, very bad record in the UFC, cannot grapple, takedown defense, very suspect, fun fighter though. He just takes him down, he controls him. Wins the decision. That's what he's going to look to do to Diego. And so you don't want him at 750.
No.
But you would definitely consider him at minus 105, which is the likely outcome if he is going to win, which is the decision. So,
that's fair. So
I got Matthews by decision is how I'm going to improve that. And if anything, if he gasses out and Diego wins 2 and 3, which is a small possibility, the minus 155 on fight to go to the distance would cover that as well. So
That's the more likely outcomes that you're giving me. Me with my 33-1 just pot
Listen,
shots.
you guys bet golf, right? That's what you do. You take those big shots and the big numbers.
That's true.
Horse racing is
You
a
just
lot
don't
of the same
usually
thing.
see it
You
as
just
often in MMA.
Bet the long shots, because if one comes in and you tried that bet 33 times, let's say, just as an example, like, yeah, they do come through. They do. It's MMA. Anything can happen. But like my personal pick, we're here to give out picks. I'm going Matthews by decision.
I'll be cheering for Diego.
Well, how could you not, right? Is he the nightmare again?
And if
He's the
Jake
nightmare, he's the
Matthews
dream.
minus 750 turns up on Cody's parlays, I'm skipping. I can't trust this guy at this price.
He'll
That's
end
just
up at the bottom of them.
We got Shane Young taking on Ludovic Klien. This one was late add to the card because Shane Young was supposed to take on your boy Nate Landwehr, which would have been
sick. Maybe not for Landwehr, but it would have been
this
sick.
is still actually a super fun fight. I was watching some tape on Klien before we came in here, watching tape on Young. Both guys show up and ready to roll, throw in heat. I guess Shane Young ended up at what? Shane Young ended up at City Kickboxing after he lost to Volkanovski. Is that how?
I believe so, yeah.
Yeah, so he fought Volkanovski just before he made his was that his UFC debut?
He made his debut against Alexander Volkanovski, lost a decision.
Tough
Oh,
scene.
yeah, talk about it.
I mean,
definitely.
Volkanovski goes to decision against most people, but
Still, it's a tough
tough fight.
out.
Watched his last fight against Austin Arnett. Not all that impressed. I think this Ludovic Klien guy is he looks like a lot of fun. Lots of kicks. Both of these guys, lots of kicks and kind of karate scene. But I watched him against this Paulo Rodriguez, his round 3 head kick finish, and I mean, yeah, high paced fight. Both of these guys look pretty decent. I think the line is pretty well adjusted here.
Yeah, I agree.
At a straight pick 'em. Obviously, Shane Young getting ready with all of those other guys. I don't know the background story all that much on Ludovic Klien. Don't have a really hard stance on this one myself. But another fight that I think will be really closely contested, and I'll be watching live to see if I can catch any action here. What's your take here?
Yeah. I mean, this is going to be probably one of the closer fights on the card. At least it's lined up that way, and I think that it kind of plays out pretty similar. Is that you just don't know as much as you'd like to know about either guy. Shane Young's a good striker. Shane Young's a pretty credible guy. He's only 27 years old, I believe. He's still young. He's making those improvements. And yeah, you just mentioned. I mean, he's on a card with all the best guys in the world, all getting ready for a fight on the same night. No doubt he's motivated. No doubt he should be in good shape. And I think he's going to pose a lot of problems. He's getting ready for a fight against Nate Landwehr. And I'll bet Nate Landwehr over anybody. Oh, pardon me, it was a little tingly because Shane Young's just a much accurate, sharper striker. Nate Landwehr leaves a lot of openings that I thought he'd be able to capitalize on. But Ludovic Klien, you would consider him, I mean, he would be considered a top prospect. He's only 25 years old. He's got 18 pro fights under his belt, 16 of which are victories. He's young, he's talented, and he's making a lot of improvements. We talk about this Czech regional scene and just like, well, who are some of these guys he's fighting? And he's branching off and trying to fight the best guys he can. But beyond that, it's just like
your boy Luka Sajewski.
Right, and I actually accidentally had to watch that fight like 2 weeks ago, tape studying someone for Lucas Sajewski. But this guy pieces him up, man. I mean, he's pretty sharp. He's active. He's wily. I don't know that when he gets later into the third round, maybe that's going to be a problem. Shane Young's going to probably have that cardio advantage. Shane Young, even though this kid's fought 18 times, Shane Young's going to have the experience advantage, even though he's already fought in the UFC a few times. He fought Alexander Volkanovski. He's got 3 fights under his belt for the organization. Bright lights. He's with all of his teammates. He's been in the octagon, he's been in the arena with these guys fighting on these shows for years. Like, you know what I mean? I know he hasn't always been at City Kickboxing, but I mean, he's been around the scene. He's going to have that experience advantage. But it's similar to David Dvorak, who was one of at least the guys that didn't screw me last week. These guys from the Czech regional scene are fighting decent competition. They want it. They're here to fight. They're going to give it a go. I wanted just a dogger pass, but it's only plus 105 on Klien. So it's not really the type of dogger pass to try to get some dog money. I just think it is a close fight, and I would like the dog or the value side. But it's pretty close. It's pretty even. I would like to say also by decision, being that I don't think Klien puts away Young, but I mean, he is a finisher, and you just don't know how these guys are necessarily going to UFC debut, Young, short notice. The play would have to be Shane Young because of the short notice opportunity for Klien. But again, I could 100% see Klien beating him. If I had a better plus money price tag on Klien, I might be inclined to bet it. see what I did there?
I see what you did there.
I know you gave me the look, but yeah, I just wanted to make sure you're listening.
I was.
But yeah, with Shane Young, that's probably the smart play. Listen, he is on the card with all of his teammates. He does have the experience. He was getting ready for a 3-round fight with Nate Landwehr, and he's only minus 125. But part of me has that bad gut feeling that's like, don't force this play because you don't quite know as much as you'd like, and you could get upset here.
That's kind of where my head's at as well. We got Alexa Camur taking on William Knight. Camur minus 160 favorite. Knight plus 140.
Oh,
now,
baby.
Here's the thing. Alexa Camur. I mean, Cody, I'll show you the picture. We're on Tapology looking at their profile photos.
Yeah.
These two guys are in a bar, and you say, who's going to win the fight? I mean, shouts to William Knight, who has like the most... He looks like such a
thick.
badass.
That chest. Look at
his
that
Tapology,
chest,
his Tapology account, he's looking thick.
You know what I would counter with? And if you go on Tapology so that you can see this at home, it would make more sense. But Alexa Camur, he looks Slavic, first of all. You don't want to mess no Slavic person. And look at that nose, Paul. It looks like
nose
it's
has
been
punished.
Destroyed.
Fair. That's a good point.
If I seen that nose in a bar, I don't think to myself, some other guy punched him out. I think, this guy's into the game.
Trust me, I'm not the type of guy looking for any sort of fights in any sort of bar with
I hear what
anybody.
You're saying. Listen, William Knight is well put together, and is that his downfall that he can't carry this later into rounds? I don't know, but he's very much like
I don't know if
Derek
that's
Lewis.
true. Watching
he just conserves himself so properly.
Yeah,
that he just explodes a little bit when he needs to.
That fight against what was the fight? His first fight on the Ultimate Fight or on the Contender Series against Herdem Alkabek. I mean, round 3 finish. He didn't look great. He got taken down early.
Didn't look good.
That's
in the
not a
first
concern in this
9
fight because
minutes.
he's taking on a guy who kind of likes to throw spinning shit. 24-year-old kid, and Camur, and yeah. So sorry, I'm talking about 2 fights at the same time. You know, he basically survives getting taken down against Alkabek, and then in round 3, he's kind of pounding away. I mean, they almost got to the bell, but that would have been a 10-8. It probably ends up being a draw, that type of situation. But you know, he got the finish, and he got to the finish line there. I just saw lots of openings when Camur takes on Justin Ledet. And we've, over the years on this program, how many times we talked about his pillow hands. The guy doesn't really knock out anybody. And I saw him get clipped a whole bunch. And watching William Knight in his last Contender Series fight, he doesn't look great.
You don't want to get clipped by him.
He's getting clipped up, but boom.
Yeah.
Lands it, knocks out Cody Brundage. I think plus 140 or even better. What is William Knight by knockout?
Which I think would probably be considered the move. Yeah, no, yeah.
I think that is the move.
If you were going to bet him,
by knockout, I don't see the price yet. Plus 240. I'd probably just
not
hang
bad, but
out
I
with
wouldn't.
the plus
yeah,
140.
That's what I'd do.
At
You're already
that
getting
price.
plus money, anyways.
Yeah, William Knight is my pick here. I just think I just saw too many openings, and that's not to say that Alexa Camur can't turn into something good. He's only 24 years old. I like the skill set that I see, but I don't think I saw enough cardio from him. He was able to get away with it against Justin Ledet because
Justin Ledet.
Ledet doesn't have the power to knock you out in the first place, but this guy does. And if you start slowing down, maybe he's slowing down too, but he's going to maintain that power into the later rounds if you can't put him away yourself. So pick for me is William Knight by knockout, and I'll be playing William Knight on DraftKings.
Yeah. Well, you know what? As far as looking for a dog play of the card, then you're making a lot of points with William Knight. William Knight emulates, in my opinion, Derek Lewis in that a lot of times you look at the tape, this guy's striking doesn't like that good. Oh, this guy's takedown defense, not that good. Man, this ground game, not that good. Then he just decides to stand up. When he stands up, he puts it together. And now all of a sudden, geez, yeah, what he lacks potentially in, technical striking, he just makes up with big power. You look at that whole stretch really for him, not just the Contender Series fight, but literally, again, it's a body of work situation. The first fight versus Herdem Alkabek, He loses the first round, he gets taken down, he gets controlled. The second round, he's losing the second round. And then like a minute and a half left, he gets on top of Alcobec, beats the shit out of him. Steals the round back, and then just, takes him out in the third round anyways. Ground and pounds him. Good win. Come back, takedown defense, no good. The fight with Jamel Jones, CES 60. My God, Jamel Jones walks in, takes him right down. Takes him down, starts grinding on him, and then he explodes back to his feet real quick. Pow! Hits Jamel Jones once, drops him. The fight with Jamel Jones is actually contested at 218 pounds. His next loss to Fawn Njoukwi. Njoukwi just made his UFC debut. Looked like a work in progress, certainly. But that fight he takes at 221 pounds. So, Paul, you're right, dude. Your guy's a big guy. And when he makes 205, he's a big, strong 205. I mean, he's not big like height-wise. He's kind of a short guy. He's just so thick and muscular, almost like a Jared Cannonier type of build that, well, if he hits you, you're gonna go down. His wrestling, his grappling, good enough to survive on the ground, but once he just stands back up and gets back up and puts you in those positions, you're in trouble. I hear you. I hear you 100%.
He lost by TKO to Fawn Njoukwi, who is one of like
Njoukwi is a freak
who is
of
probably
nature, man. He's got a wicked build on him.
And he may be like the best prospect that they just pulled up on Contender
He's
Series.
so green still, but again, that guy's going to make a lot of improvements to be a threat. And so losing to him, it's not the end of the world. Now, Alexa Camur actually fits 24 years old. So, no, pass on him. I told you at the top of the show, got to stop betting these 25. There's a lot for him to learn. Now, he's chief sparring partner, along with, I want to say, Jeff Hughes. I could be off on that. But anyways, he's one of the chief sparring partners for Stipe Miocic. So listen, he's used to these big guys with lots of power.
Do you really think that they're throwing this kid in there that much with...
Well, strong style fight team doesn't have a ton of guys. And then rewatch the footage from Stipe in the lead up to Stipe versus Cormier 3. It's all Alexa Camur. That's the guy he's working with. Who's a 205er, right? He's a decent sized 205er. That's the guy you work with. So he's getting good rounds in. He's going to be making improvements. He's the better striker, I believe, than William Knight.
Yeah.
But there's a lot of variables there. And then he's a young kid and he's green and he's there to lose eventually. And yeah. I mean, at 6-0, I mean, there's a lot left for this guy to learn. Again, at 24, he's going to be half the fighter that he is when he's 27, 28.
Yeah.
And then when he's 30 years old,
these are like the big growing years for prospects.
Right. And William Knight is that guy that like teaches you a
30,
motherfucking lesson.
Exactly.
He's
32,
a lesson. He's a teacher.
Power puncher.
He's a teacher.
There's just too many openings in that Ludette fight that I saw from Alexa Camur. He came away victorious, and they were saying that he was gassed maybe a little bit too early into the fight. But yeah, as the fight wore on, obviously Ludette started to tire as well. Yeah, and you saw Camur as the fight started to go on. He was just making more mistakes, and he was starting to telegraph a little bit more. And he was starting to it's now with Knight, because Knight fights that Lewis style where it's like just wait and just make a mistake, just wait, make a mistake, bam. And he's a little more active than Lewis, but he's also not 265 pounds. So he's supposed to be a little more active than one Derek Lewis. But yeah, Dogger Pass, I hear you there. I think along with Paulo Costa, those are probably the best looking underdogs for my money's worth on the card. Maybe Eubanks, but yeah, mostly them. Juan Espino taking on Jeff Hughes. Juan Espino minus 290. Jeff Hughes plus 245. What's your take here? Okay, straight up, I actually like Jeff Hughes coming to the UFC. He's completely let me down as far as his run in the UFC goes. But yeah, once upon a time, again, so yeah, I was right. He's one of the other guys that's in Strong Style Fight Team along with Stipe. And so you fall into that narrative, as we just talked about Alexa Camur. Sparring partner for Stipe. He can wrestle a little bit, decent wrestling chops. As far as his run prior to getting to the big show, he fights Maurice Green, who went on to fight on The Ultimate Fighter and went on to fight in the UFC. Has a decent little career for himself, niched out, I guess. But anyways, he fights him for 5 rounds. He goes 5 rounds. He wins the LFA title. He's the LFA heavyweight champion. Now he gets his Contender Series fight against Josh Appelt. Josh Appelt, my boy. But you have one look at Josh Appelt, he's not supposed to be there, right? So anyways, he goes out and he gets the late first round stoppage over Josh Appelt, and now he's signed to the UFC. And he gets a rematch with Maurice Green. He just grinded Maurice Green out for 5 rounds a few months ago. This is easy work, Paul. This is easy money. Little Cody's rubbing his hands together. He's a minus 270 favorite, but he's going to win. And not only is he going to win, I just saw him beat this guy for 5 rounds. This is only 3 rounds. He's going to win a decision. He loses a split. I could get mad about it, but whatever. The fight game's a fight game. But he fights a really bad game plan, man. He doesn't pursue takedowns. He throws almost nothing. He gets wobbled a couple times. It's a bad performance, but it's UFC debut, so you give him a pass. Then the Todd Duffy fight, he is on his it's a rough and tumble first round. He's getting his ass absolutely handed to him, and then Todd Duffy pulls the old
hurts. Bails out. Doesn't want to fight him anymore. He looked okay. And then he gets Rafael Pessoa. And wouldn't you know it, he throws nothing. He just sits there and watches it happen. You can't get behind that. You can't bet on that, right? You just can't bet on a guy that's not throwing enough. Now, my issue with Juan Espino is
he's almost 40 and he hasn't fought since 2018.
Because otherwise...
And Justin Frazier, like, that was an Ultimate Fighter. Like, that guy didn't get a contract.
No, of course not. Juan Espino, there is a world and a place where Juan Espino would 100% be my boy. But that time and place was 5-6 years ago, man. Like,
this guy hasn't had like any credible opponents in his whole career.
You know what? He
took on Vitaly Minakov back in 2011, and he got absolutely sparked in 9 seconds. So what do you learn from that?
Did he fight Vitaly Minakov?
I guess he fought your boy Rodney Wallace.
Is that what you consider?
Back in 2017?
Yeah, and here's
so he had a 6-year layoff from Vitaly Minakov. So he quit. He quit doing MMA and then decided in 2017 to get back on the horse, I guess.
Right. So he does that by deciding, you know
6 years off. Like there's no way that's just
it wasn't 6 years off. He fights
Vitaly Minakov to Jimmy Van Bemmelman.
Sure. I'm talking about his latest of layoffs. Yeah, okay. But
did he quit? Do you know that?
Quit fighting and that he's not fighting, but he wrestled. He wrestled internationally. He did this sport, I believe it's called Kadabi. I'm probably mispronouncing that, but it's like some straight up tough ass wrestling in the sand, man. And you have a belt. You have to kind of chuck around a guy from a belt. It's a different style of wrestling. Not only that, he's a BJJ black belt and he's been competing a lot in BJJ. He's a Spanish fighter. He spent some time on American Top Team in the States. This guy takes that long layoff, but just improves his skills. Good wrestler, good BJJ. Now that you're a big heavyweight and you're an older heavyweight, what do, Paul? You just play to your skills. And it just so happens your skills are the longevity skills. Take the guy down, submit him. Heavyweight has poor wrestlers, poor ground game, and you can fight when you're 40.
Jeff Hughes is a strong style heavyweight. What is strong style known for, except for with the Alexa Camur, I guess. He'll get
so
there.
Now you have,
because all the other guys there typically have good gas tanks, like Stipe.
Yeah.
Jeff Hughes is like his main skill is that he's got
durable,
he's durable and he's got a gas tank.
And that's a problem with Juan Espino in that he literally comes off the shelf onto the Ultimate Fighter, and then wins the Ultimate Fighter. And dude, it was so effortless. He just took them down and submitted them.
Well, not Ben Sisoli went to decision.
Well, right. And that's an embarrassing decision. Shit, Ben Sisoli. But the Maurice Green fight, right? He just takes him down, no problem, submits him. The Justin Frazier fight, got him down, submit him, no problem. But now he's taken a nearly 2-year-long layoff since then. 39 years old.
Laying minus 290 is scary for this.
Fought very sparingly over the years. And he's finishing guys early in the first round for the most part. Whereas Hughes is looking like shit in 3-round fights, right? So Hughes is now considered a live underdog. He needs to stretch him outside of the first round. His wrestling's not that bad, but if he does get taken down, just don't get submitted. And then the second and third round, if Juan Espino's tired and all of a sudden he's sucking air and you can get him into a comparable situation, then sure. But I hate betting against guys with that bad of ring IQ, man. There's spots where he can win. He's just not making any adjustments. I don't know. It's frustrating to watch. 245 is a big price tag, though. So you can afford to be a little frustrated when you bet a guy at that price tag. You know what you're getting yourself into. But, I mean, Jeff Hughes comes off as a favorite, and he does this to me as well. So, like, I don't want him. But Juan Espino at minus 290 just seems a little ridiculous considering if he doesn't finish this fight in the first round, I mean, big question marks in what he looks like beyond that. And he's not exactly physically ripped or anything, so... Yeah, I guess I want to say dog or pass, but when I give the PRP at the end of the show, I think I'm going to puss out and take Juan Espino and then,
based on how bad he's
pull out
looked
what
in the
little hair I
UFC,
have
it's hard to feel
fight
comfortable laying or putting any money on him.
Well, you want to talk about that? Then let's talk about the next fight, Paul. You want to talk about laying down chalk on a guy who has
What can you tell me about this Danilo Marques?
Not enough, clearly, because Cody Ibragumov's moderate-sized favorite at minus 155.
He was minus 170. Now he's minus 155
well,
plus 135.
Well, because people have just naturally figured, you know what? I might as well fade Cody Ibragumov.
I like that they didn't cut Hadis Ibragumov because you know what? He comes to party every single fight. That is,
and
this is an opener for the card, like curtain jerker, fight pass. Like, all right, throw Hadis in there with someone and let him try to let's have a war. That's fun. I'm okay with him getting the 4th fight here. I mean, he's not exactly shining in the UFC. Obviously, 0-3, and
But this is the easiest
not
fight they've given him. No doubt about that.
Yeah, Dawodu Jung, we talked about it actually last week when we were talking about somebody.
Good.
I think he may actually be all right. We just need to get him back in the in action. Ed Herman, it's Ed Herman. Generally durable unless you got the real power. And he's going to stay in the fight. The problem with Ibragumov is he comes out so hot, pretty much every single fight, that he just can't maintain his speed. And he doesn't exactly have the power to put guys out at this level. It's a terrible strategy, but it's fun for our entertainment. Tell me about this Danilo Marques, though, because I'm sure everyone is looking for an opportunity to fade Ibragumov.
The only thing I can think of, and I would really got to just dive deep on this guy's social media and just really figure it out. But remember when, I'm drawing a blank on the guy's name, and that goes to show you, but remember when Lando Venata fought Anderson Silva's buddy? It was on this undercard of the Anderson Silva fight, where it was just like, yeah, I'm coming to town with this guy anyways. You might as well just throw him on the card. And, woof, Lando Venata looked like $1 million. Camur him in the first round. And I think that guy fought one more time in the UFC and lost that fight. Again, should have been in there in the first place. Was caught, was released. Life goes on. I almost have to have the feeling that Danilo Marques.
Like Rosa or something?
You can look it up, I'm sure. It doesn't matter. But, just look at Lando Venata. And it's literally the only time he's looked good in a victory. I mean, he's looked good in a couple defeats. But anyways, Danilo Marques must be buddies with somebody. He must be like Paulo Costa's sparring partners or something. And they've just decided, you know what, let's throw him on the card. Let's make it the first fight. And he's here just because his record doesn't show you enough that would give you the indication of here's somebody that UFC should assign. Not only that, but like, why not give this guy? I don't know. It's tough to give somebody a contender series spot because he's from Brazil and he has to fight. Marcos Mariano. I was like, why did they even sign him? 6-4 when they signed him. What the fuck? Shouldn't have been there.
He's Anderson's friend.
Yeah. Kind of looked like Anderson too. He was a very poor man's Anderson Silva and was just like completely out of place there. Danilo Marques, he's got all the red flags. First of all, he's 34 years old, debuting in the UFC. It's late for a fighter to be debuting in the UFC. Fact. He's got 11 fights. It's a little light for somebody who's already 34 years old, considered a little past their prime, only has 11 fights, right? Part-time
fighter, really.
Right. He hasn't fought in 2 years. So I have a 34-year-old. The UFC doesn't usually sign guys super later, but he's 34, okay? He hasn't fought in 2 years. He's coming off a decision win, of a guy who was 5-4, and prior to that, he armbarred an opponent that was 0-16. Now
where did they find this guy?
Right. He's from Curitiba. I have a feeling he probably knows Paulo Costa. It's the only thing I can really think of, right?
I mean, I guess
now, I don't know what his social game's like. That's why I haven't been able to figure it out.
I haven't really seen. Okay, I'm looking at Vila de Luta, which is what Tapology has listed as the gym that he trains at. Damian Maia is a co-owner of the gym.
Yeah, I'm sure he's not there anymore just because
maybe this is like part of the agreement to like take on Kamaev. Damian Maia is just like, you got to give my buddy a fight against somebody.
Well, there's a second crazy theory to this. Maybe he's not Paulo Costa's buddy. Maybe Cody Ibragumov somebody's buddy. And they're like, give Cody a fucking gimme on the card. We got a little pull on this card. Cody has got some good friends in high places. Give him a winnable fight. And mind you, yes. Is he fighting some lower end guys? Sure. And yes. Is there a proper way for Cody Ibragumov to fight? No. Because he went balls out against Da Young Jung, and it proved out wasn't the recipe. Mm-hmm. And then he went mid-guns out against Ed Herman, and he lost that one too. And then he went slow pace against Roman Deliz, and it didn't work. Like, he can't win. But watch his M1 career. He's serviceable. He's not a fool. Right?
Yeah, I thought he was going to be a lot better.
And now you have a 34-year-old.
This is by far the easiest fight. Nobody wants to click his button.
And we're going to bet Cody Ibragumov? Like, come on.
But
that's who I would pick, yes.
Here's the thing, though, and this rolls into it really well. I don't think you necessarily have to make a wager on Cody Ibragumov. I think you play him on DraftKings. That's how you get your investment into Cody Ibragumov. The guy usually comes to fight. If we think that this is a setup fight for him to finally get on track, he's an entertaining fighter. I mean, 8,700 for Cody Ibragumov. If he wins, I mean, based on the output that he's had like almost nearly 70 points in one of his losses before, at least the first fight, I believe. Cody Ibragumov on DraftKings, loss.
Well, the first one against Da Young Ja, he emptied the clip.
Yeah, he scored 52 points and he got finished in the third. 40 points,
but
and he
fell
lost
off
it,
after the
and
first
he
round.
lost by decision
It was
against.
mostly it was like mostly 3 minutes of action, and then he got tired. I think it's Herman, he tried to pace himself, it just didn't work. Against Dolitz, he really tried to pace himself, and then that was the one where he just got clobbered out quick times. But yeah. Now listen, Daniil Marques does have one X factor, right? He's 6'6". He's a listed 6'6". That's some big height, you know. He's a big guy. This fight's at 205. It's a big height for 205. But again, you know, you look back to his losses. He's knocked out at minute 44. This is his first pro loss, first round, minute 44. So if Caddis does empty the clip on him, yeah, he could knock him out. The Myron Dennis fight, he loses a split decision for LFA at LFA. And Myron Dennis is a career light heavyweight. He's 17-7 currently. At the time, he's 14-7. He doesn't have exactly the prettiest of records, and he's mostly a kickboxer. Caddis has got that combat sambo. You just got to go back to it. I don't know if Marques is some sweet BJJ black belt, and I'm totally downplaying it. Hit me up on Twitter if he is. I don't think that's the case. But yeah, I mean, very tentatively, Paul. I think I'm going to take out as a Ibragumov.
Same here. All right, let's get into the DraftKings breakdown then. Let's pull up those. There we go. Perfect. You have where do we start here, Cody? Right at the top, we got 9,400. Jake Matthews, Diego Sanchez. Sanchez is durable. Jake Matthews has proven over time he can't fight for 3 rounds, or at least at a high volume, high clip to pay off that 94 price tag. This is a situation to avoid, in my opinion. What do you think? Yeah, no, I agree. I think Jake Matthews is the price is reflective of the price. He's a big favorite. He didn't open up that big of a favorite, but all the same, money's coming in on him. When DraftKings released their pricing, he's the biggest favorite on the card. He rightfully so gets the 9,400. But Jake Matthews is not the highest scoring guys. He relies on his takedowns against Sanchez. Well, maybe he only gets a few takedowns. The striking, not really a volume striker. Doesn't have that power, I don't think, to knock out Sanchez. And if he doesn't submit him, it's not going to be a whole lot of points there. So as far as that 9,400, I'm not liking it a whole lot. You move down from that, you got Juan Espino at 9,100. Geez, a lot of uncertainty there. Now, he's got first round finish written all over him in the sense that that's what he's fighting for. He's fighting to get that first round finish. As far as DK goes, you want guys that are going to go for the first round finish. But yeah, Hughes is durable. And if Hughes doesn't get submitted in the first round, then this becomes a low scoring affair for Espino. Espino does complete the takedowns, which he could. I don't know that Jeff Hughes is scrambling to get back up and Espino's going to land another one. Like, these are heavyweights, not flyweights. Keep that in mind. So the 9,100, not loving that as well. Look at Ketlin Vieira, 88. Sorry, we'll go with Dominic Reyes. I like Dominic Reyes in the sense that he's got the 5 rounds to work with. So even though I don't necessarily see him knocking out Jan Blachowicz, especially not early, he's not going to submit Jan Blachowicz. I don't even know he's going to shoot a whole lot of takedowns. It's mostly going to be Throws
striking,
a lot of volume.
but there's a lot of volume over the course of a 5-round fight. If he goes out there, now, against Jones, maybe he's nervous, fighting the best guy in the world, fighting for the legitimate title, and he just, again, we talk about empty the clip, he just goes out there hard in the first 10 minutes. He needs to pace himself a little bit better, but just keep those numbers consistent.
116 significant strikes thrown in that fight.
And that's how that's going to be his path here, is that even if it does go 5 rounds, the strike should be able to land up. Maybe Jan, not as durable as Jones, who's just, one of the most durable of all times. You never know. So looking at that at 9,000 compared to those other options,
I agree.
I really don't mind that. Again, looking at Kai Kara France at 8,900, decision machine, right? Now, they have the benefits that they are flyweights. So he's going to throw a ton, and there could be some fun scrambles, and there could be takedowns.
If this gets to the mat, that could, those points could start ramping
and
up.
Royval likes to scramble, right? So now you got an opponent
But
that
Royval doesn't really have the takedowns to get it there.
No, I think
Kai Kara France keeps it on the feed.
It
could be another low score.
Again, and I think that Kai Kara France being the third fight on this pay-per-view, third from the top on this pay-per-view, being the city kickboxing guy, probably going to have high ownership as well. +28, or say he's a +240, or a -240, I should say. 8,900. Maybe he's got some higher ownership. Maybe we look to fade that. But then we're looking to fade Ketlin Vieira as well. She's 8,800. She's not going to submit Eubanks. I really don't see her knocking out Eubanks. So you've got 2 grapplers for 15 minutes, both black belts, both have cardio issues, low on takedowns, low on transitions, low on strikes. You don't want... I could see you taking a shot on Eubanks at 7,400, but that would be more of a cash game play to really just save some money and hope that she just gets the decision. Tukhugov versus Dawodu, I see that going to decision as well. I got Tukhugov. If Tukhugov goes in like the Lerone Murphy fight, scores 6 takedowns, That's huge.
Yeah.
But the striking doesn't match up. He only really lands about 40, 50 strikes at best. So he's not going to score a ton, but he's only $8,200. So he's somebody worth having a look on.
I agree.
Riddell at 9,200. If you're just counter wrestling the whole time, hard to score points. But in the open space, he's gonna punch a lot. Riddell's one of the higher priced guys at 9,200. I guess we should have already talked about him. But I honestly don't mind him. He'll be lesser owned than Kai Kara-France, $300 more. And I think he's got better upside. And then, moving down, we don't have a price on Shane Young versus Klien, right? But it'll be 8,200 and 8,000, I would imagine.
Or 81 and 81.
81 and 81 aside. So it's going to be pretty similar.
Something in that range for sure.
Yeah, and honestly, this will be that sleeper. You don't pay much attention to it. It's going to be added later.
I know. That fight's a banger. That's going to be a good one.
Banger.
I think that's a fight that you're going to need to wait 100%. For the pricing to get released on that fight because I think I want to have access to... I mean, you're going to want access to the winner of this one.
I agree. I think if you give Shane Young the type of fight that he'd like to have, then he could be a potential decent scorer. And then as far as Ludovic Klien goes, I mean, he's a legitimate prospect. He's young. And these guys come in here, these young prospects, they come in, it's like they got something to prove, but they go out there and they go for it. Now, if he goes and gets the victory, and you know what, his striking is okay. He looked like he was an okay striker. His grappling was okay. How is he going to put that all together at the highest level is what remains to be seen, but... I could see it sneakily be I'm just trying to look real quick. What does Young put up his last couple? I don't know why
Young.
His name's not fucking sitting here.
I mean, it's not. Yeah, it's,
you know what? It's because he doesn't have a price. I was just like, why can I not find it? But it's because he doesn't have a price.
I'll find his stats for you here. You just keep talking for a second.
Yeah, okay. So again, I think when you look at Shane Young, it's like if he gets the fight that he wants to have, which is a striking affair, is he going to throw enough output to make it worth his while? With Klien, I mean, he's wily. He's going to be coming after him. This could be the low-key fight of the night. It could be low-key high scoring. But you at least want to have the right side of that. I think Young would be the smarter play, but Klien's got some upside to himself. So we were talking about it on a betting perspective. Maybe you just hit the hard pass on it. But on DK, you wait until that pricing comes out. Probably going to be similar. But maybe Klien would be the slighter upside on it. He'll be a little cheaper, and I got a feeling he'll throw more.
The kicks coming from him seem to have a little bit more pop as well. So to answer your question from earlier, Shane Young against Austin Arnett, 120 significant strikes landed. That's
you're gonna want one side of this fight.
High volume there. Against Rolando D, 104. Against Volkanovski, I mean, he was
neutralized.
He was thrown to the wolves. He was taken down 5 times. He only landed 18 strikes, but you can't strike when you're lying on the ground. So, I mean, I think you're gonna want the winner from Shane Young versus Ludovic Klien. Juan Espino maybe like the sneaky under-owned
because he's got high and no Ibragumov would be sneaky because listen, he's got an opponent.
You think Ibragumov's gonna be sneaky? I mean, he's 0-3, so nobody wants to play him.
Nobody wants to play him. He's just,
I ain't gonna play him.
He's in a very, very strange spot where it's like most people didn't assume he was even still signed to the UFC. There's a world that exists. He wins this fight and his 4-fight deal's up. They don't re-sign him, but he's entertaining. If you're gonna keep him to have a fun fight with a notable fighter, then he's got to beat these non-notable fighters on these curtain jerk fights to move him along. Former M1 champ, he's got the back class as well. And then Marques has got 2 pro losses. And one of them, he happened to get knocked out in less than 2 minutes. Ibragumov would love to just get it done early so that his own fatal flaws don't catch up to him yet again. But listen, he's 8,700, so he's cheaper than those other options, right? When we talk about, let me just hit you on the spot, right? Adesanya versus Costa, not ending in the first round. Reyes versus Blachowicz, it's not ending in the first round. France versus Royval, it's not ending in the first round.
Costa could finish him in the first round.
You think Costa could knock out Izzy in the first round? Well, listen, he throws heat. Yeah, you're right. I guess it could happen. I wouldn't say that's the
most likely outcome.
The most likely outcome. Sure, it's certainly possible, right? Vieira and Eubanks, that's going at least a few rounds. Tukhugov versus Dawodu, I mean, could end in the first round, maybe catches, but again, they're just more decision fighters. Riddell versus Silva is probably going to decision. Jake Matthews, I think personally, he's going to decision with Sanchez. Shane Young could get a finish just because we don't know enough about Klien to really make that judgment. But again, that's probably going to be a hard 3-round striking affair. Camur and Knight has first-round potential written on it. Juan Espino, Jeff Hughes has first-round potential written on it. Ibragumov versus Danilo Marques has first-round potential. Those are your bottom 3 fights. So you could be low ownership, and they all have high upside. You just got to fall on the right side of it. I think we're going Knight because it's a great price.
Espino
and Ibragumov, right? So if you were to put the 3 of those guys on a ticket,
high variance fights,
but if you put those 3 on a ticket,
plug your nose and play.
Yeah, if you put those 3 on a ticket, you've got Juan Espino is very expensive, but William Knight is very cheap. It balances itself out. Ibragumov's higher end of medium. but you could afford guys like that. Anyways, you put those three on a lineup and they all hit the sides that you're going and they all get the first round finish. No, I don't think a whole lot of guys are playing that, right? So you're trying to make a unique lineup, and at the same time, what is considered a bum fight has a higher likelihood of being a finish, man. You get top guys, best martial artists in the world, you match them up, not high on finishes. The guys are just so good. You give me guys that have been off for 2 years, guys that are 34 making their debut against Ibragumov. Come on. You give me Jeff Hughes versus Juan Espino. Espino first round finishing machine. You give me Shane Young. He's going to hit the guy 120 times. You give me William Knight. 205 Derek Lewis. Come on.
We have 2 title fights though, and five round fights. You gotta probably have somebody. You're gonna have to have guys in here. I mean, Costa. We both like Costa.
Nice slate, and I think that there's a lot of potential good scores.
Costa, Reyes. I see the lineup coming together here. All right, we're almost out.
Don't want to give too much away.
We're just about done here, but before we go, hit him with the PRP.
Okay, we're gonna go Paulo Costa, dog number 1. We're gonna go Dominic Reyes by decision. Kai Kara-France by decision. Actually, Dominic Reyes, let's just pick him straight up. But Kai Kara-France by decision. Ketlin Vieira by decision. Tukhugov by decision. Brad Riddell by decision. Jake Matthews by decision. Shane Young by decision. William Knight and a knockout, and he's actually our dog number 2. I'm gonna take Juan Espino. What's that by decision? Just real quick, right?
By decision?
Yeah, let's say he just gets the takedown. No, he gets the
sick.
I know, but he gets the takedowns in the first 2 rounds, right? He's BJJ black belt, very high, good top pressure, doesn't submit him. It goes the way of the Sassoli fight, where it gets a few rounds in. Hughes doesn't throw shit in the 3rd round to finish him.
It's not.
It won't be that good, I bet.
It's not as good as you think.
It's got to be
plus 280.
Oh, fuck, plus 280. Okay, Juan Espino by decision.
Oh, wow.
And then Cody Ibragumov. So, yeah, 2 dogs, 11 fight card, 2 dogs. They'll be Paulo Costa and William Knight. And we got an even money fight somewhere here. Wow, Shane Young's minus 125, Tukhugav's minus 120. Again, you improve those by decision. There's a lot of plus money on this. If you can get the method of victory, and hopefully that is 29-28 or 30-27 for our guy.
I want to catch the weigh-ins and stuff for
of course.
week.
Always,
I think it's really
always do.
A lot of these spots, I have my leans, but I haven't. I'm not willing to pull the trigger yet, just because. I mean, we're in the middle of COVID. We've seen Jay Collier show up like 60 pounds heavier than what we had ever seen before. Like people are hit or miss during these times. Anyway. Any closing remarks, thoughts?
Well, that's about it. Listen,
PRP.
in all likelihood, we're on Fight Island, so there's a better chance that a pile of these fights don't fall off. But it's only 11 fight card. You could see them adding something. You could see them having somebody fall out, being someone's on standby. So yeah, you always wait for the weigh-ins because that's like your best indicator of what's actually going to happen. So,
and there's not many Russians on this, but trust me, the Russians are coming in the in some of the upcoming weeks. I think week 3 is like all Russians.
Well, again, I think they were like, right. They were like, hey, so we were going to do this card in New Zealand, and we're just more or less moving the whole card. And we always put a couple Russians on the New Zealand card anyways, and then there's going to be a couple that are going to appear here. And, okay. You only take, what, 2 Russians? Only taking 2 Russians? Only got taken 2 Russians. How are you going to make it up to me? I'll make it up to you. Tukhugov. We'll give him the decision as long as he doesn't get fucking knocked out. And Ibragumov, you see that guy over there pushing the cart down the hall? He's going to fight him. So if that's what Ibragumov's getting, should be a winnable fight for him. Tukhugov, I honestly think Dawodu's a superior fighter, but I think situation's everything. Tukhugov will get the split decision. This is also a guy that had 3 straight split decisions in a draw.
I don't know who Dawodu's training with in his room in Calgary, Alberta,
yeah,
but I can assure you it is not Islam Makhachev.
All right, that's pretty much
Zuby's going to be ready to roll. Anyway, that's it for us this week. Hope you enjoyed the show. For Cody Saftic and Matt Best, I'm Paul Shaughnessy saying goodbye and good luck.
Mayo experience! Experience!